Apologize ahead of time for the wind noise, but back in a wind-blown cove, and I mean wind-blown because it's nasty out there, doing some catfishing, and I'm in 2 feet of water, tethered off to a stump over there, and catching some really nice catfish. I didn't bring my catfish rods. I've got my striper gear with me, but I had bait left over because it's too windy to be on the main lake for me in the kayak. So I've got shad, pretty good size one. Well, they're 4 or 5 inches, gizzard shad. And I've got a knocker rig on this one, which is doing really well. Knocker rig with a circle hook and a 2-ounce weight. And then on this one, the orange one, I've got a Carolina rig. It's doing good too. I've got a crappie jig head, a big crappie jig head on that one. It's caught a couple as well. Because we're in 2.5 feet of water, when you set the hook, they bust the surface, which is cool. And I'm right on the edge of a very minor creek channel that drops off from 2.5 to 3.5. So I'm pretty sure they're just running that creek channel. My lines constantly go slack because I'm moving back and forth, but when they hit it, they're like running with it. They're peel and drag, but like I said, busting the surface, so it's pretty cool. But I've got a pretty rough ride back to the marina ahead of me, and I'll talk a little bit about strategies for dealing with the wind when it kicks up. I'm fortunate enough to have a motor on the back, so it'll help push me forward, but I still have to pay attention to some rules. And I'll go over it as I'm crossing the lake, although I doubt you'll be able to hear me much. But I'll cover it in the video. Strategy just to take when you get caught up in the wind, and you've got a long way back, and it's going to be against the wind, which is what's going to happen with me. It's blowing right into this cove, which is why the catfish are here, because it's blowing the bait in here too. So yeah, it's going to be a fun trip back. When on my way into here, I was in probably 2.5 foot white caps, and having to run perpendicular to the waves to keep them from just crashing over the bow the whole time. Hobies tend to leak around the hatch, so the last thing you want to do is plow straight into them. You want to take kind of a diagonal approach. Don't go sideways to them, although sometimes you can. Depends on your boat. If you got a PA-14, you can go sideways if they don't get too big. Just got to make sure you take care of your balance, but kind of at a diagonal is the best way to go, and zigzag to where you're going, and definitely plan your strategy looking at your map. I've got a couple options going back. One's going to take me longer, but it'd be safer. So anyway, I was hoping while I was talking one of these rods would go off, because they're going off pretty quick. I'm sure as soon as I stop recording, one of them will, because that's the way it always works. So I've just got to start remembering to bring my cameras with me when I go fishing. It's just been kind of inconsistent lately, so catfish are starting to feed up for wintertime, I think, with the cooling off of the shallow water. They're coming up and chasing bait, so bait's coming into the shallow water too. So it's a good time to get out and get some decent sized fish. I'll include some of I took a couple photos of a couple of the bigger ones. But man, they are fighting so hard. I've got 80-pound braid on that rod right there with a 40-pound leader. That's my heaviest one. I use it for attaching my underwater camera when I'm trolling for stripers, so that's why I got such heavy line on it, because I don't want to lose the camera. But today it's worked out, because there's a lot of stumps down in here that they're getting wrapped up in, so being able to pull them through those stumps, it's really important. Yeah, nothing's happening at the moment. It's funny. Oh, wait a minute. Line's kind of going tight on this one. Let's see what happens. This is one with the knocker rig and the circle hook. That one right there has got a Carolina rig with a regular J hook. Pretty good size one, though. Come on. Do it. When they're doing it, they're not nibbling at it either. They're just taking it. I've only got a few shad left, and I've got some jumbo minnows that I caught in the cast net, like the crappie minnows that escape and become like small salmon. yeah, pretty good size. I've got some of those still in the live or in the shad tank. So there's probably a couple big shads still hiding in there. I like to keep them alive in the shad tank because they bleed more when I put them in the water. I'll like break their back. I'll break their back, and then that'll pretty much kill them or immobilize them. And they bleed out a lot better than if they're sitting on ice or if they've been dead all day. They just don't bleed out much because the blood coagulates. So I keep them in this little shad tank that's behind me right there. It's like a 13-gallon shad tank, and if I put some oh, there's fish. There's fish right there. Let's see. It's on the crappie jig head. Let's see if he's still there. Nope, he's not there. Definitely hit it though. I heard it thump in the rod holder. I almost lost a rod earlier too because I didn't put it back behind the collar, and the fish took the rod right out of the rod holder, and I grabbed it right before it went in the water. Anyway, I was saying the shad tank, I put a couple handfuls of water softener salt in there, and then some of that slime coat for aquariums. I put about an ounce of that, and maybe a half ounce of that in there. Then I put a little bit of another water conditioner that removes ammonia really quick. I forget the name of it. It's like in a red and white bottle. You can get it at PetSmart Prime. And you put just a tiny bit, maybe a half of a teaspoon of Prime in there. Those three things will keep your shad alive. As long as your filters are clean, it'll keep your shad alive all day long. It's pretty awesome stuff. So even in this little tank, I've got a big 50-gallon tank, and I do the same exact thing with the 50-gallon. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and cut the camera off for now. I'll bring it back on when I'm getting ready to make the journey out of here, and kind of document my strategy for dealing with wind. A huge thunderstorm came through, and I got out of the boat back at the marina. As soon as it let up and I was halfway across the lake, the wind started from the opposite direction. So, all right, enough of me rambling. All right, well, the storms blew through and were replaced by bluebird skies, and the result is the bite completely turned off. I haven't had a bite in a while now, so it's time to go. The wind has died down significantly too, at least back here. It may be hell when I get out on the main lake, we'll see. I've just got to cross, I don't know, maybe a mile section. So we'll see what happens when I get out there. If it's flat, then I just won't do the wind part of the video like I was talking about. But one thing I do is I definitely put the what's it called? Not the rudder, but the handle for it's right here. The skeg. I definitely put the skeg down, and I put my pedals in too because it acts as a skeg. Even though I'm using the electric motor, it helps kind of stabilize me and keeps me from tipping over. So that's one of the things that I do. I also emptied my shad tank. If I'm going to head out over rough water, that extra weight up on the top just makes you more tippy. So check your hull too. Make sure you don't have water down in your hull. Remove as much of it as you can, because it will also add to your instability. Lower your seat down. If you've got a Hobie with an adjustable seat, or another type of kayak with an adjustable seat, put it all the way in the down position so that it makes you more stable. Look at the birds diving out there. They're just diving for bait. We're only in like 3 feet of water, but yeah, they're just diving like crazy. I might, I don't know, I might troll a spoon through there or something, see if there's any white bass in there with them. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, that's about it. Had a pretty good catfish run there for a while the wind was blowing and the sky was cloudy. But yeah, now it's just completely shut down. So about to head back, so I'll get this up on YouTube and see what happens when I go through these birds up here. They are diving like crazy. I don't see any fish on the surface, but they're going nuts. All right, thanks for watching. Bye. All right, so it's still pretty rough out. Apologize for the wind noise. I'm trying to cup the microphone as much as I can. It's still pretty rough out, so what I've done is I've slowed my boat down so I don't take as much water over the front. It's not horrible. It's white capping some, but you know, it's rough enough that you get completely sprayed with water, you're gonna get wet. So if you've got a motor, slow the boat down. It'll keep you drier with that wind in your face, because otherwise it just splashes right up in your face. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my way just straight across to the other shore so I get a break from the wind, and my marina is back down that way. So I'm not going to head straight to the marina because it's going to be a longer path in the rougher water. So I'm just going to head straight across and then cut down. That way I'll avoid some of the water coming over the side and stuff. And I'll stay a little bit drier. It's warm out, so I don't care if I get wet, but you can imagine in the winter time, this wouldn't be a good thing. You'd definitely get cold if you got wet. So just trying to get out of the stumps. Somebody's laid some lines out between the stumps and these floating buoys, boat bumpers. There's a shallow line going in between them. I just hit a stump with my pedals too. So anyway, as soon as I get out of here, you can see there's a bunch of stumps still. I'm trying to watch for them. The cool thing is that those white birds like to sit on top of some of them. So they'll almost act like markers for you. Yeah, there's a set of the boat bumpers that are attached to one of the stumps over there. They've got hooks right up at the surface. I wish they wouldn't do that, but I guess if you're allowed to do it, you're allowed to do it. It's just a boat hazard, especially if you're in a powered boat and you go through here quickly. You may not see those buoys in time, and then you'll get that line all wrapped in your prop. Nope, pedals just hit another stump. I didn't even see, but I got the breakaway pedals, so they should be fine. Just have to check them if I start the pedal. Yeah, there's one right below the water, right there. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and shut off the camera and just concentrate on getting over to the other bank so I can get a break up from the wind, get back to the marina.